All right, here we are. I am Giuseppe Santasauce. This is the work versus talent topic on the Sunday night YouTube podcast. Work versus talent. I love this topic because it didn't really play a role in my life until about 5 years ago, and now it drives everything that I do. That's what I love about it, totally. So, work versus talent. So, this is how I think about it. I kind of see it on almost like two volume knobs on maybe like a recording device that slide up and down. I see one being work, one being talent, and 1 to 10, blah blah blah. So obviously, if they're both at zero, you're not going to do anything in that. Oh, and this also applies to work versus talent. It could be in anything you're doing, whether this is going to the gym, trying to make it in music, starting your own business. This, for me, I think this could apply to anything. And work, we all know, and talent being something that you sort of, you're sort of, it comes easy to you, or maybe you were born with something, genetics, or something like that. We all know what talent means. Okay. So I kind of see it on that two volume scale, 1 to 10. So obviously, if they're both at zero, you're not going to go anywhere in that career. If they're both at 10, not only going to make it in that career, you're going to do really well. Okay, so now here's the interesting part. If you put talent up to 10 and work down to zero, you're going to go nowhere. Doesn't matter how talented you thought you were. But if you flip it, work to 10, your talent is pretty much zero in it. You can still make a living in that field. You definitely can. And that's what's so I never knew that 5 years ago. I never realized how they play off each other like that. And talent is really only important in the beginning of when you start something, because then it sort of validates why you're there. Oh, this does feel right. I am sort of, I find it does come a little easier to me than most people, so I am in the right field. And then at the end, once you put in all that time and now you're really good at it, and your brain and your hands can now work as one. So that's the only time talent really plays a role. But as in the bigger picture, it depends on where you want to go with things. It does make a huge difference. And there's like two scenarios that I think of that I like to think of that sort of help remind me of how true it really is for me. So I like to think of just like going to the gym, right? You take two people, you have them go to the gym the same amount, 5 days a week, 7 days a week, whatever, 2 hours, 4 hours, and they both eat exactly the same, right? After 5 years, and assuming they're eating healthy and they're doing the right things to look better, and they're doing the right workout, right? So after about 5 years, they're both going to look amazing, right? But the person who had better genes, whether that's better cheekbones or better shoulder to hip ratio or more muscle mass, or is going to look better. So they put in the same amount of time. They're both going to look great, but now maybe one who's genetically gifted can now go model or whatever. It's going to put them ahead of that person who put in the same amount of time. But it doesn't mean that the person who just worked really hard doesn't have an awesome body. Another story I like to think of is so let's say you take a job as like a carpenter or something, and you don't even want to do it, but it's just a job. Maybe it's your uncle's. thing, whatever, your father's company, and you have to take this job and you do it. You really don't want to do it. You never really thought about doing it. But if you just show up every day, 9 to 5, and do the work, in 5 years, you're going to be good at what you do, whether you wanted to or not. Just by putting in the work, even let's say you even kind of didn't want to do it, but if you just showed up and did it, you're going to be good at it in 5 years. I love thinking about work that way because you really just have to show up and you have to be there all the time, and that's it, and just be consistent, and that's it. Whereas the person who's thinking about, as a kid maybe was thinking about how to do different things with wood and always thought about wood and how to create stuff and the different textures of wood and the types of wood, and then went into that job. Of course, after 5 years, they're they're going to be a better carpenter than you because they're going to think differently. They're going to be more excited about new things and better things, and whereas you kind of went in there because maybe you had to. So that's where they're going to excel. Those are two stories I like to think of to sort of help remind me that just showing up every day and putting in the time, you're going to get results. And that's what's so cool about this whole thing. I used to think, oh, talent, if you're talented, eventually it's going to work out for you no matter what. But that's really not true. It's really not true. And I think, if anything, I think sometimes talent makes it more difficult because then you see other people who know they're not as talented and they just work harder than you. But you're like, how come it's not happening for me? I'm the one with the talent. And then I think that person with more talent probably tends to give up before the person starts out and realizes they're not as talented and they work harder. I never knew this 5, 6 years ago. I never realized this. And I love thinking about it, and I love waking up every day and just knowing that if I put in the time, that you will get results and things will move forward. It's such a cool topic to me. I can't. I think about it all the time. I try to talk about it as much as I can with people. Um, yeah, and once again, this is just my experience. I'm not saying this is what works for me, and I know if this works for me, there's tons of people who kind of feel the same way or are going through the same things, and they're going to be able to relate. And then some people have their own thing, and that's fine. That's great. Um, do whatever you need to do. Um, so I think that's it, man. This is it on work versus talent. What else did I have to say on this? I think that's it. All right. So I'll talk to you guys in probably about 2 weeks. All right. Thank you. Take care.